The flu vaccine became available in Alberta starting yesterday. Albertans 6 months and older can now book and receive their flu shots.
Independent of the pandemic, I think it's important annually to consider getting your flu shot. Influenza in itself as a disease and the problems that it can cause are important to avoid. So, with COVID or not, it's still important to get your flu shot annually.
This follows last year where there were no lab-confirmed cases of the flu. Last year's lack of flu cases was likely due to stricter COVID restrictions and more diligent social distancing, but now with the looser COVID restrictions, the flu could become more prevalent.
That you can minimize your risk of first getting influenza and thereby avoid complications of if you do contract it.
Flu shots are available to be booked through the Alberta Health Services website or by contacting local pharmacies. Construction on Lloydminster's new $81 million wastewater treatment plant is on schedule. That news came during an update to City Council this week. Jace Mackey has more on how this project is progressing.
Ground broke on the mechanical wastewater treatment facility in May of this year. Since then, work has been progressing. According to city officials, the project is 20% complete, with most work being focused on the bioreactor and membrane tanks.
Construction is going to continue on through the winter, and we're going to see some more work being done.
As of right now, the $81 million project is trending close to budget, with supply chain issues causing some small cost increases. The project team is always looking at cost savings, and Mayor Gerald Albers is hopeful that the project can stay within budget.
So far, we're on budget. Fingers crossed. That's one of the pieces of the IPD model, was to ensure that we would be as close to budget, if not better than budget.
One concern that came up during the project update to council was the lack of local subcontractors bidding on jobs.
We always want to see more local content. At the outset, we knew this project, there wasn't a lot of contractors that take on an $81.5 million wastewater treatment plant. So it's important to us that we continue to see people support it locally, but at the same time have the opportunities. We also realize there will be some specialists come in.
There are close to 20 local businesses working on the project. All in all, Mayor Albers says that this was a good news report.
I think that it's great to see where we're going. We'll just continue to watch this project move forward.
City officials say the project is moving according to schedule, but will not provide a firm completion date. For Primetime Local News, I'm Jace Mackey.
Yesterday afternoon at Avery Outreach School, students learned about Indigenous culture through teepee raising. The teepee raising was held outside Avery Outreach School by the FNMI coordinator of the Lloydminster Public School Division, and they spent the afternoon learning how to properly raise a teepee and about the significance each part of the teepee has.
It's really looking at the teepee teachings, bringing cultural awareness and expanding on our goals towards truth and reconciliation. The disconnection from culture has contributed so much to intergenerational trauma, and looking at so as we look at healing, it's really looking about how do we reconnect cultural teachings and ground Indigenous people in their cultural background.
Blyan says that 50% of the students at Avery are Indigenous, and holding events like this teepee raising helps connect both the Indigenous and non-Indigenous students.
This event is actually really important to me because it just teaches everyone about, the Indigenous lives, everything that has happened. And, it's good to share something like that with everyone, and everyone can experience all that kind of stuff.
Raising the teepee gave the students the chance to learn more in depth about certain aspects of Indigenous culture. But some students try to teach the other kids about the culture more often.
I like to kind of just put myself out there and kind of give everybody the knowledge that I know, and kind of just express myself and show them that, we're better than who we're, stigmatized as and stereotyped as. And I've learned that, most of us can, change. We can turn around the tables, and we can really show other people that, we can show people that, we can do better than ourselves, and, we can show people that, we're really different from what they say we are.
Members of the community, such as the Lloydminster RCMP, also came to Avery School to take part in the activity. Now Shelby Clark will take a first look at today's temperatures. Thanks so much, Jazz. Now taking a first look at your weather forecast for here in the border city. We are sitting at 6 degrees here with a mix of some sun and cloud. It was looking a lot gloomier today, but the sun did start to peek behind those clouds. So it did still feel a little bit warmer, but we are cooling down quite a bit as we head into the winter season here. Switching over to temperatures across the region for Alberta and Saskatchewan, most are sitting at that 6 degree spot. As you can see, Lakeland and St. Paul are at 4 degrees, while Provost is a little bit warmer at 7 degrees, but we are going down to those single-digit temperatures. Over on the Saskatchewan side here, they are all looking at that 6 degree mark as well, while Meadow Lake and Macklin are both at 7 degrees, and St. Walburg is at 5 degrees. But North Battleford overnight, they will be going down to a low of -6 with a little bit of clouds in sight there. And throughout the night into tomorrow, they'll warm up to a high of 8 degrees with a little bit more sun peeking behind those clouds. Switching over to Cold Lake overnight, they'll be going down to a low of -2 there, so they'll be a little bit warmer there with cloudier skies. And tomorrow, they'll be warming up quite a bit there to double-digit temperatures to a high of 10 there with a mix of some sun and cloud. And now here in the border city overnight, we'll be going down to a low of -3, but with that windshield, we'll be feeling like more like a -5 there. So it will be a little bit cooler, but we will be seeing a little bit more clear skies. And tomorrow we will warm up to a high of 9, and we will be seeing a little bit more sun hopefully tomorrow. And throughout the week in my next forecast, I'll be showing that we will hopefully be warming up later on in the week. Now switching over to our 3-day forecast here. Wednesday, as I was saying, we will be seeing a high of 9 and a low of -3 there on Wednesday with a little bit more sun peeking behind those clouds. Though on Thursday we will cool down to a high of 5 there with a low of -4, but we will be seeing still a little bit more sun on Thursday, so hopefully we will continue seeing more sunnier skies throughout the week. And Friday we'll be starting off the weekend with a high of 9 and a low of -3, so hopefully we will be seeing some double-digit temperatures for the weekend. But as we head into that winter season, we are cooling down just a bit there. That's the first look at your weather forecast. We'll have more news coming up after the break. The federal government is hoping to reduce emissions in every sector by 30%. Some agricultural organizations are concerned that a blanket target will negatively impact production in the sector. Jillian Code has more.
Today on Primetime Local News, I'm joined by Karen Proud, who is the president and CEO of Fertilizer Canada. Today, we're talking about a recent emissions target set out by the federal government, which is looking to reduce overall emissions by 30% across the board. Now, Karen, Fertilizer Canada put out a statement saying that there needs to be more discussion with agricultural producers to see how this will impact the ag industry. What are some of the concerns that Fertilizer Canada has about this target?
First off, is the fertilizer sector 100% behind emissions reductions initiatives. Nobody is impacted more by climate change than farmers. I think you just have to ask the farmers, and they will tell you lots of concern around climate change. So we have been working for over a decade on programs with farmers to try and help reduce emissions and reduce, in particular, nitrous oxide emissions while maintaining productivity. So when the government announces this 30% emissions reduction, what the devil is really in how we're going to achieve it. And so we have been saying to the government, you can't put a cap on the use of fertilizer, which is what they've done or they're proposing in other countries such as Europe, because what that basically does is put a cap on productivity, because we need fertilizer in order to grow crops, in order to get the yields that we need. What we're saying is there are other ways to look at emissions reduction by a better use of fertilizer, and the program that we've set out called sort of 4R nutrient stewardship, along with other best practices such as no-till and cover crops and things like that. All of those best farm practices help to reduce the emissions in a way that doesn't stifle or put a cap on production.
And can you maybe just speak a little bit to what implications does fertilizer have in regard to emissions?
Sure. The emission of concern with regards to fertilizer is nitrous oxide. So it's not one of the emissions that people talk a lot about, but this is where the government and the industry has sort of focused its attention on how we might be able to reduce nitrous oxide emissions from fertilizer. And because many fertilizers are nitrogen based, it's putting that nitrogen into the soil to be used and taken up by the microbes. And as part of that whole sort of biological and ecological process, there is the potential for increased nitrous oxide emissions from the use of fertilizer.
And so what does Fertilizer Canada propose in response to this emissions target from the federal government?
So we still think we can talk about emissions reductions. I think there's no question. I think just pulling a number without looking at impacts is a problem. So we need to look at where we could reasonably go in a time frame to reduce the emissions while still meeting productivity goals. Because the government's also said they want Canada to increase its agricultural productivity and export. So you can't have both the way it's being sort of suggested, but I think you still can have both. And so what we're saying is let's adopt and encourage farmers to adopt these suites of best farming practices. So for instance, for our nutrient stewardship is a suite of best farm management practices that really looks at how fertilizer is being used. And it looks at sort of what source of fertilizer are you using, at what rate. So we are looking at the amount of fertilizer. What time of year are you putting that fertilizer in the ground, and where are you putting it? Are you broadcasting it on top, or are you putting it underneath the soil? Because all those things combined make the most efficient use of fertilizer, so we're not losing as much to emissions and other processes. And what we're saying to the government is let's encourage farmers to adopt these best practices, because the program we've developed around 4Rs, as I said, has been around for over a decade. And it's scientifically proven. We have researchers across the country who have looked at the 4R program and see that it can make a difference. So that's one tool in the toolbox, a really important one. There's others, as I said, there's things like cover cropping and no-till that combined can go a long way to reducing emissions. But let's sit down, industries such as ourselves, farm groups, other groups who are interested, and have a conversation about how we can meet the emissions reduction goals and still have the agricultural powerhouse that Canada is and should continue to be.
Absolutely. It's always a little bit of a give and take. I hope you guys are able to continue having that conversation. Karen, thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, my pleasure. Nice to talk to you, to Jillian. If you have any follow-up, feel free to reach back out.
Now we'll take a look at your agriculture prices. The Lakeland College women's soccer season has come to an end following their 3-1 playoff loss to Nate. Evan Kenny has more, wrapping up the season.
As cold as soccer would have been in the last weekend of October, it would have warmed the hearts of this Rustlers team. The historic 2021 season for the women's soccer team came to an end in the second round of playoffs on Sunday. After earning a second-round berth with a 3-0 win against Grand Prairie, the Rustlers met their maker in the Naydukes.
And that's the game, right? It's whoever makes more mistakes is going to lose the game. Whoever makes less mistakes is going to win the game. So that's what it comes down to. And too bad, man, but I'm proud of the girls. I'm proud of how far we've come. It's a divisional semifinal. First time ever in the program in 10 years of the program, man.
The team went 3-2-1 in the regular season, averaging 2.67 goals per game and allowing just 1.5. While the season didn't end with a win, the team picked up major victories throughout the year.
We were first place. The program's never been in first place. We were first place for 4 games out of 6. For 4 out of 6 games, we were sitting in first. Nationally ranked. And then again, making playoffs, getting a home playoff game. The program's never been in playoffs. So that's number 1. Number 2, we got a home playoff game. We won a playoff game. So all those things, man, are all first in program history. It sets the bar. It definitely sets the bar for future years. You know what I mean? Like, hey, listen, we fell short, but doesn't mean we do any less next year.
All except goalkeeper Nicole Prume and striker Kim Feel will be eligible to return for the Rustlers next season. Evan Kenny, Primetime Local Sports.
Now our Shelby Clark will take a second look at your weather forecast. Thanks so much, Jasmine. Now taking another look at your weather forecast. Yes, we'll be starting off with taking a look at temperatures around central Alberta and Saskatchewan here. Edson, Rocky Mountain House, and Jasper at that double-digit degree mark with 11 and 10 degrees there. Whitecourt and Red Deer at 9 degrees, while Athabasca is a bit cooler at 6 degrees, as well as in Cold Lake. Switching over to this end here, they're looking a little bit cooler, around 7 to 5 degrees there, while Meadow Lake is at 7. Prince Albert, North Battleford, and Saskatoon are all at 6 degrees, and Melfort is at 5. And switching over to our northern region of the province, they are seeing a bit of cooler conditions. Usually they are looking a lot cooler, but they're seeing around the same here. 5 in most spots here on the map, while Wollaston Lake is at 2 degrees. South End is at 4, while Flin Flon is at 6 degrees. Switching over to the Alberta side here, 5 degrees as well as in Peace River and Grand Prairie, 6 in Fort Chipewyan and Fort McMurray. High level is at 4 degrees, while Slave Lake is the warmest there at 7. And switching over to our southern region of the provinces, they are seeing some warmer temperatures, while Banff surprisingly is the warmest at 13 degrees. Calgary is at 10, while Medicine Hat and Lethbridge are at 11 degrees, and Coronation is sitting at 8. Switching over to this end here, they're looking a little bit cooler there with 6 in Yorkton, Kindersley, and Swift Current, while the rest are sitting at 7. And now going back across the region of temperatures overnight tonight, we are cooling down quite a bit here as we're heading into the winter season, but we are still seeing the same for a good temperatures for the fall here. Meadow Lake will be seeing a low of -6, as well as in Unity. Isle La Crosse will be seeing a low of -1, so they'll be seeing the warmest there. Pierceland and Myrnam, Wainwright, and Provost will be seeing a low of -3, while Bonnyville and Paradise Hill will be seeing a low of -2 and -4. So most spots will be seeing around the same here, while Meadow Lake and Meadow Lake will be seeing a little bit cooler there, as well as in Unity. And most spots will be seeing more clouds in sight, while Unity, Wainwright, and Provost will be seeing more clear skies. And as we move on to temperatures tomorrow across the region, we will be seeing around the same today, except for up in Lac La Biche, as well as in Vegreville, Wainwright, and Mackland. They'll be seeing the warmest there at 11 degrees, while Provost and Vermilion will be seeing 10 tomorrow, and Edmonton will be seeing very warm at 13 tomorrow, but the rest will be seeing those single-digit temps, but we will be seeing around the same conditions as what we've been seeing today. And now ending off with our 7-day forecast for here in the Border City. Wednesday and Thursday we'll be seeing a mix of some sun and cloud. Wednesday we will be seeing a high of 9, while we'll cool down just a bit on Thursday to 5 degrees there. Friday we'll start off this weekend with 9 degrees on Friday, with a little bit more sun peeking behind those clouds. So we will be cooling down quite a bit for this weekend compared to what we saw last weekend. Saturday we'll be seeing kind of more of a gloomier day with a lot more cloud coverage at 8 degrees, and we will be seeing around a 40% chance of some precipitation there. Then Sunday we'll be ending off with a mix of some sun and cloud with 9 degrees there on that day. And as we head into next week to start off Monday, we'll be seeing back to those double-digit temps with a high of 11 on Monday with a mix of some sun and cloud, and Tuesday we will be seeing a high of 10. That is another look at your weather forecast. We'll have more news coming up after the break.
Welcome back, everybody. We're joined once again by Becca Lawrence with the Lloydminster and Community SPCA. Becca, how's everything going over there this week?
Oh, it's going good.
Well, that's good. That's good. So we got a few things to chat about this week, but let's get started with our furry little friend here. So you were telling me this little guy's name is Tate.
Yes, so this guy here is Tate, and as you can see, he is a busy fella. He's always ready to play or whatever else naughty things he can get himself into. Actually, even we are wanting to adopt him out as a barn buddy or a shop cat kind of thing. He's just he's a bit rambunctious, so we don't think he would do well in a home. He just gets a little bit moody and then he bites, and so he's actually done 2 bite holds here, just getting a little bit crazy. And you know, obviously when they break the skin, we just have to be safe and do the bite hold. But I mean, otherwise he's quite friendly and playful. He loves attention, but he just kind of a flick of a switch and he just bites a little bit too hard. So we're trying to find him a good barn or shop home for him.
Yeah, which is, I mean, understandable. Different cats have different temperaments, and obviously some cats, you know, require a little bit more exercise. They got a little bit more energy pent up, and yeah, like you were saying, if he had space outside, I'm sure, to run around and to burn that off, I bet he would be a great pet for somebody, you know, very playful and whatnot. So that's lovely. If anybody out there has lots of space, if you got a barn, you need a mouser, or maybe one of the shops in town are looking for somebody to, you know, keep the workers company, certainly Tate is a wonderful option. Stop by and say hello. All right, so your next event coming up, Becca, we've spoke about it a little bit before, but we'll bring it up again because it is coming up soon, and that, of course, is Slay the Night, the big Halloween event. So let's just go over quickly kind of what that's looking like, how people, you know, can get involved, and yeah, we'll go from there. So let us know, Becca, what's going on with that?
Yeah, so they're having a burlesque Halloween spooktacular show, and they're fundraising for us here at the SPCA. So all of their online sales will go towards us. They will donate that all towards us. And then they will also be having a silent auction at the event itself. So it's going to be at the Sticks here in Lloydminster on the 30th of October. And you can find all of the details on our Facebook and theirs. So make sure you go and follow their Facebook page. And yeah, so we're really just excited. You know, it's something new and something we've never done before, so we're really excited, and we're really happy to be working with all of the people with Slay the Night Lloydminster.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like a really fun event. So if anybody out there is interested, definitely, you know, get involved, get a ticket, come on out, you know, support the SPCA, have a fun evening, maybe get yourself a silent auction item, do some bidding. I know it's going to be very fun.
Yeah, I was going to say too, like they have an online option for the show. And you can go in person as well. So if you feel safer to be staying at home and watching the show from home, that's definitely an option as well.
See, and that sounds great. So if anybody, you know, is out there, they want to be involved, but maybe you're still not feeling comfortable going out in public for a whole night or what have you, then you have options. So that's really great to hear. Wonderful.
Yeah.
And real quick, we're going to touch on this, Becca, but you guys are still so swamped over there. You guys, from what I hear, you're right full of cats and kittens, and you're flying through the food, and it's pretty crazy over there. So I'll just kind of let the people know what's going on.
Yeah, so I mean, like we just keep getting cats coming in, and obviously it's getting cold out, and we try to take what we can, obviously. But yeah, as of right now, every single kennel that we have is full. So unfortunately, we can't take in anything else right now. And again, everyone's still kind of battling with that upper respiratory infection as well too. So we're treating everybody here at the shelter and just trying to get them better so we can get them out to their homes. So, you know, that's cause for some of the, you know, full kennels, things like that, because obviously we don't want to adopt out anybody that's not feeling well. But yeah, so I mean, we're feeding everybody wet food. You know, sometimes if they're sick, they don't want to eat their dry food. So even the adults are getting their wet food right now too. But yes, as of right now, we are swamped full of kitties, and they're all just chowing down on all that amazing food everybody donated to us.
Yes, and obviously people did do a big donation rush recently, which was wonderful to see, and it's so appreciated, obviously. So, you know, guys, that is kind of unfortunately the case at the SPCA right now, but there is lots that people can do, obviously, right? If you've been in the market for a cat, certainly swing by, perhaps adopt something or fostering, which is always a possibility. Yes. I know you guys encourage that. If you can't take a cat in, you know, permanently, even just temporarily helps relieve pressure from the system, as well as, you know, obviously donating food, because you guys are running on short supply there, or as always, straight up a cash donation is never, you know, it's never unappreciated. We'll just say that much.
That's right.
So, Anyways, if anybody out there is feeling like doing a good deed and getting involved this week, the SPCA would certainly appreciate it in these trying times. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this week, Becca, but I want to thank you. I want to thank Tate for stopping by, and I want to thank all of our viewers, and certainly thank anybody who brings it upon themselves to help out the SPCA in any way possible. So thank you for stopping by.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Manage your waste and recyclables with Quick Pick Waste Disposal. 100% locally owned and proud to serve and support the communities we call home. Quick Pick, the convenient solution to avoid pollution.
Joining us for Primetime Local News is Christy Lavin with the Alberta Council of Women's Shelters. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. And now we're speaking about the Lift Her Up campaign. Can we start off with you telling us what this is and how it became to be?
Well, the Lift Her Up campaign started at a 2016 rally that was held at the legislature of approximately 1,000 people protesting the carbon tax. And they were chanting, lock her up, referring to then Premier Notley. And recognizing the links between the abuse of women in domestic and political spheres, Alberta shelter directors at the time launched Lift Her Up in response. And it started off with a campaign commitment for the 2017 municipal election that included a follow-up survey of candidates.
How would you say that response and reaction has been so far to this year's campaign?
Yeah, it's been awesome. I mean, first of all, what a campaign. Historic numbers of women voted across the province. So that was really exciting to see. And I think during the Lift Her Up campaign this year, 195 candidates from around the province signed on to the commitment, committing to conducting a violence-free, issues-based campaign, which is about a third of all candidates that we originally approached. So great numbers and comparable to what we saw in 2017. There were many great conversations informally that we had with candidates who just followed up to ask us about it, to learn more about the connection to violence against women, and to hear about the amazing work that shelters do in communities around the province.
And I understand that ACWS recently released a research report on women in politics. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so exciting. So from the 2017 post-election survey about candidate experiences, we conducted a series of focus groups and interviews with women from all levels of political office to find out more about their experiences that they would characterize as violent, and to see if they resonated with us in terms of what we know about gender-based violence and abuse. And we conducted a number of these over a number of years, and we found out that they did, that the experiences of women in political office very much were gendered in nature. And they reflected all around the power and control wheel. They mirrored common tactics employed in abusive relationships.
Would you be able to expand a bit more on what the similarities are between domestic violence against women and violence against women in politics?
Yeah, so for an example, on the original power and control wheel by the Duluth, which is a model that we use a lot in our sector to explain coercive controlling violence and how different tactics of abuse are used in different relationships at different times. It's not just physical, right? It's emotional, it's spiritual, it's psychological, it's many factors. So one of the tactics that's used in the domestic violence wheel is intimidation, for example. So making her afraid by using looks, actions, gestures, destroying property, displaying weapons, all ways of intimidating her into submission. Okay. So what we found in our research, the political side of that is that yeah, it happened all the time, making her afraid by using looks, gestures, actions, and counsel in meetings at the legislature, destroying property like campaign signs, physically intimidating her by standing over her, cornering her in some instances. It was really surprising. Ignoring her or speaking over her in meetings. So all of these are ways of intimidating her into submission and silence. So it absolutely mirrors those in violent relationships. A public example actually of that is, the famous example is former US President Trump on the debate stage with Hillary Clinton in 2016 and how he physically stood in front of her. That's another great example. Another element would be isolation. So limiting outside involvement, cutting her off from friends and family. That's also been reflected in political office.
And after seeing the success and support so far for this Lift Her Up campaign for this year, what's next for the project?
The next phase is to work with local parity groups and other organizations to create a positive flip of this wheel, an equity and accountability wheel for women in political office. The objective is to have a tool for campaign schools, but also for us bystanders out there, so we can recognize this size of violence in women in political office and know how to help. And we also need to be able to pull more contemporary, statistically valid sample sizes of women who not only experience abuse because of their gender, but also because of other intersections, race, culture, if they're identify as a member of the 2S LGBTQ+ community. All these ways layer on top of each other and just exacerbate the violence. So we need to learn more about that so that we can better equip women and support them.
For people wanting to find more information and of course wanting to support this campaign, where can they access it online?
Yeah, we have a Women in Leadership page on our website, www.acws.ca. And just, we had a great election. Just do what you can to support women who are elected. Pay attention to what's going on and what they experience. A lot of women in the study remarked that there were amazing men in their professional spheres and public spheres who stood up for them, who noticed these kinds of violence and who said, this is not okay. And I stand behind her, even when it wasn't, politically correct, and win points for doing so.
Well, I think this is a really amazing campaign. I'm glad to see there is such strong support for women, especially in politics, that people may not realize how much of an issue it actually is. Thank you so much for joining us today, Christy.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Primetime Local News, and have a great night.